So on you, if you had to look and see what the impact of these jobs and Waymo's entering into our industry in New York, what would you say it? What do you think the effect will be?
Yeah, so Waymo and other autonomous vehicle companies coming into New York is going to impact different people in different ways, right? So for drivers, we talked about how it's just coming for your jobs, right? So it's as simple as that. But it also affects passengers, it affects pedestrians, it affects everybody else in different ways. So for passengers, how often do passengers need your help? How often do they need your help getting luggage into the trunk? If they have a disability, how often do they need your help, getting in and out of the vehicle? All of that goes away, right? Robots can't do that for you. Okay, there's safety questions, right? When you go to pick somebody up and they're outside a bar and they're being hassled and they get in, and they rely on you being a witness and being there for safety. Robots can't do any of that, right? Person's having a medical emergency in the back of your vehicle. Robots can't help you with that. So for passengers, this causes problems. And then for the rest of the people around the robots, I mean, these robots, they weigh thousands of pounds and they go 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. We don't yet know how safe they're going to be in a place like New York City. And the companies, their answer to that is, we'll let you know after we've done it, right? So imagine like somebody invents a new kind of toaster and they say, here's how we're going to test it. We're going to sell it to the public. We're going to put it in all these houses and then we'll see how many burn down.
Right.
And it's like, wait a minute, that's not how you do it. Like, that's not how you test a new product. And so as somebody who lives in New York City, I don't want robots driving at high speed around my city until they prove someplace else in a controlled experiment outside the public that these things are safe. That's how every other consumer product is tested. First, it's tested away from the public, and then when they can prove it's safe, then it's rolled out in the streets. I would also say that New York City just has very different street culture than a place like San Francisco. So in New York City, when you're waiting for the light to change, you step off the curb a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you're a driver, you can see if the person who stepped off the curb is just, waiting for the cars to pass, or did they step off the curb because they're kind of drunk and they're about to stumble into traffic. A robot can't tell the difference. So are they going to program the thing so it always stops when someone steps off the curb, causing accidents when people are plowing into them? Or are they going to program the robot so it always goes through the intersection when someone steps off the curb and it's running over the drunk guy? Like these are things that I think they haven't been able to solve yet. And so as pedestrians and bicyclists and so on, we should all be worried about this too.
And I bring into account also the fact that New York City just took away the jaywalking law, and so now we're looking at people being able to step out at any point at any time.
Yep.
Could that also impact what's going to happen as far as safety concerned?
Yeah, of course.
There's no guardrails anymore.
Exactly. So what you're talking about here is what these robots are programmed on is like the same things happen over and over and over again. And so if you're in a situation where nothing unusual happens, the robots are programmed to handle that. What they can't handle is something unusual just happened. So let me give you an example that they do deal with, and then let me get to your example. So the example that they do deal with is like construction in the street. There's new construction. So the robots have driven over this street 1,000 times. They know what to do. You drive along the street. Then one day the robot pulls up and, Con Ed is digging a hole in the middle of the street. They've never seen that before. They don't know what to do. And so the way Waymo deals with that today is that vehicle will stop. The robot contacts headquarters and somebody sitting at a screen takes over the vehicle for remote control, drives around the construction, and then moves on, right? Because so they take the time to stop, connect to a human, the human drives the car, gets it back on the road, the robot keeps going. Okay, but what if someone just is like jaywalking? Like, there's not enough time to figure that out. It's a whole new situation for the robot. It doesn't know what it's doing, and like a person's about to get run over by a car, right? So I think the robots just aren't ready for New York City.
Right.
And the only reason to rush into this is because you want to give more money to shareholders in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's all we're talking about here. And so until like we shouldn't be prioritizing investor dividends
Right.
over human safety, over the communities that currently get that money, over the drivers who currently are providing this incredible service for the city of New York.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that I saw that kind of made it a little bit difficult is the fact that there's also standoffs, right? So if someone is really, watching to make sure that these things don't happen, like them driving into an active police scene or them hitting each other, and then of course they become a standoff because now they don't know what to do. Now, it seems that someone actually sitting behind the scenes can't always maneuver these situations, right? Because if that was the case, then they wouldn't be hitting each other, right? Because
Yeah.
now they're supposed to be watching each other and their moves. And so it begs to differ that now how equipped they will be
Right.
at the speed and the number of autonomous vehicles that's going to have to
Right.
come out, right? And the other thing I wanted to ask about is the fact that now that those things are happening, now that you're seeing, they have also, I think, a CBS in, I think it was San Francisco, showing that Waymo has now programmed the cars to be more aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm like, so the safety no longer matters, because if they program it to be more aggressive, to do a little faster, that means that there must be some complaints about how much stopping and how extra safe they're going to be.
Right.
And riders want to get where they're going, and this slow mode
Right.
thing has now affected the way that they're doing. So if they actually truly care about safety, why did they do that?
Yeah. So it is like a knob they can turn. Like be super cautious, be kind of cautious, don't be too cautious.
Right.
And they changed that setting. And after they changed that setting, cars have started driving right by stopped school buses as kids are getting off school buses.
Yes.
Right. So like they haven't figured all that out yet. I want to say, look, here's what I want to say. I want to say someday these robots are going to be good.
Right.
Maybe that's in 2 years, maybe it's in 10 years, maybe it's in 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Someday that'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
It is not today.
Right.
And right now what we see happening is a money grab from, these companies who want to pay dividends to their investors.
Yes.
It's too soon, it's too fast. They are not properly testing these things. New York, in particular, has a very different streetscape, has different street culture. These robots are not ready.
Mm-hmm.
We need to. So my position isn't. We need to make sure that 100 years from now these things are still off the road. 1,000 years from now these things are still off the road. No, my stand on this is we got to make sure that this is done right. And done right means dealing with safety questions, dealing with customer service questions, and dealing with the workforce questions. Okay, and right now, Waymo's answers to all these things is trust us on the safety. They're not really thinking about the customers, and we don't give a crap about the workforce. Yeah. And those are not the three right answers. And until we get the right answers for all three, what's the rush?
Right. And the other thing that I think that lawmakers are also forgetting about is crime, right? How these cars can be used to enhance crime. Like a drug mule can go into a Waymo and just traffic the drugs much easier deliver because there's no accountability. We have teenage sex trafficking. We've got so many things that they can use these vehicles for.
Yep.
That's illegal, that crime will become easy.
Yeah.
Because there's no accountability.
Right.
The guy in the office don't know. He's just dropping the package in and going from place to place, right?
You what it is? It all comes down to a disrespect for the worker.
Yes.
They don't understand or think about or care about what the person behind the wheel does beyond moving, steering the vehicle from point A to point B. That there's so much more to this job, so much customer service, so much being an eyes and ears on the road, all of that stuff. It all goes away, and they just don't think about or care about it because they don't think about our workforce as a skilled workforce providing a complicated service. They think of it as just making sure that hulk of metal gets from point A to point B.
And that they have a quiet ride and they can do whatever they want in the car. And that's it. But not thinking about what that car or driver did in the past to help them make sure they got to where they're going pleasantly and, safely, right? And to think that you're replacing a person because you say, oh, nobody you have to talk to me.
Right.
I don't have to answer. I can do whatever I want in the car. But it's more than that. It's humanity. It's like they're replacing humanity.
Right.
With robots.
Yep.
Everything.
That's exactly what's going on. And if you're an investor, that's what you want. You want to make money. But the rest of us, we have other things that we want to think about. Yeah. Like, how safe is this going to be? Who's going to help me if I get into trouble in this car? All these kinds of things. They haven't answered any of those questions.
And I always use the analogy about the guy who has to be buried in his car because his car was beloved to him and that's all he could think about. Not sharing the car with somebody else after he passes.
Is that a true story? Oh, man.
Yeah. And he had himself buried in that car because the car was his pride and joy.
That's a bit much.
Exactly. This is what it feels like, though.
Oh, that the companies are thinking about the cars as their pride and joy, yeah.
Their pride and joy, and all they want is the money, and they can go, hang out and spend and whatever. But what they forget is that when you take away other people out of the economy, everything else is going to come expensive anyway because nobody can afford to buy. And they'll be the only one buying. They'll be by themselves. Yeah. But to think about the disaster on the economy on a whole that's going to happen if the employers and states seem to say it like they're planning, it's going to be a domino effect.
Yeah, this is the first domino to fall of the whole automated economy, right? So our society went through a transition like this back in the 1800s when industrialization first happened, and people moved off the farms into the factories, and nobody thought about it, nobody cared about it. And the workers suffered terribly, right? They lived in these awful tenement buildings, all kinds of disease and sickness. They were in poverty for, 2 generations until the union movement came and started fighting for workers in an effective way and got us minimum wages, minimum work standards, all the kind of things that we take for granted now, right? We're going to go through another transition in this society in automation.
Yes.
And instead of it taking 2 generations to figure out how the workers aren't going to just suffer, we need to be thinking about those things today,
right.
and dealing with those things.
So let's not have another Detroit.
Right.
Detroit has not gotten back on.
Hasn't gotten back on its feet. Yep.
After all of that, so thank you so much, Andrew, for answering the questions.
Well, thanks for having me, Michelle.
That, we have to keep fighting. And humanity has to fight back, and drivers need to fight back. So we will definitely be involving drivers as we do every day.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, that's the answer. So, like I said, the impoverishment that happened at the beginning of industrialization ended when the workers organized and fought for their rights. Yeah. And the same thing has to happen now as automation comes in and takes over their jobs. Workers need to stay organized and fight for their rights. Yeah. That's the answer to this problem.
This is what IDG will be doing.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
6, we're not stopping.
All right, good seeing you. All right, bye-bye.